that's really what was the motivation or a starting point was, during this pandemic, the bar and restaurant industry just really got kicked to the curb. Like, no one gave a shit. Not necessarily in San Francisco. There were a lot of people really working hard and trying. More on a federal level, just no one gave a shit about livelihoods, safety, just anything. Just did not care. No help with your landlord, no landlord assistant, I was really kind of shocked.
That was Traci Ramos of Boozenation podcast. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast all about the artists, activists, and small businesses that make this city what it is. In this episode, part 2 of 2, we hear about Traci's return to San Francisco and various jobs and trips she took over the years. Then we rewind back to the early days of the pandemic, which served as an inspiration for Traci to start Boozenation podcast. Find Boozenation on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Traci's site, traciramos.com. That's Traci with an I. Here's Traci.
So that was another, I'm back in the States, and...
You were gone how long in Australia?
That particular trip wasn't as long. It was about 6 months.
Okay, still, that's significant.
Yeah. See, that was what you could do in San Francisco at the time. I put all my things in storage, and I went, and then I came back, got my things out of storage, found a place to live, found a job.
Yeah. Craigslist?
Yes.
A lot of Craigslist. Yeah.
That's what you could do. It was not a big deal. Housing was not an issue at all. Mm-hmm. When I came back from Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, that trip, that's when things started to change and things got a little weird. They were just getting weird, and about the city's getting really crowded. What's happening? This is terrible. Late
90s?
Yes.
Okay.
So then again, I'm now working again a couple of different restaurants. I'm still serving. I'm not bartending, and I go to Puerto Rico. That's just more of a vacation. I think I was there for about 3 weeks. Puerto Rico's very small, as we know. It's really small. You can see everything probably in that amount of time. It's really small. Came back, worked again, drove cross country.
Fun. My favorite.
Came back to San Francisco, and then...
Drove cross country by yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
All of the time I've traveled is by myself.
Okay.
So came back to San Francisco, and things were definitely super weird because now it's, dotcom boom. Dotcom.
Yeah.
And then I stopped working in restaurants, and I did my 9-to-5 job.
Okay.
And I was a office manager and a project manager for general contractors.
Okay.
So I had my 9-to-5 life for probably about 4.5 years.
Okay.
Yes.
What was the thinking there? Just I might as well make money off this shit?
Well, the thinking was I wanted a house in San Francisco. I wanted a property in San Francisco, and I just thought I'm going to have to build it myself.
Yeah.
So a couple of my customers were general contractors, and I said, I'm leaving to go cross country. I'll be back on this date. They're looking for an office and admin person, and I started right when I came back.
Amazing. How many of the 50 states, or I guess 48 if you did cross country, have you been to?
Well, that particular trip was just the South because I left in the winter.
Okay, yeah.
February. I left in February. So that was the South. But I still haven't seen a lot of the Northeast. I haven't seen any
far New England.
Yeah, far New England. I haven't seen any New England.
Yeah.
I've only seen a little bit of the Midwest, which is really Chicago. I know. I've seen a good part of the West Coast. But the states are pretty big. So I still have a lot to see there, for sure.
Okay, but you got back and you're
I came back, yes. I'm always coming back to San Francisco. And then I made the decision to stop, with the restaurant world and do a 9-to-5 type of job. I really disliked that
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
I get it, and I get why people like it. I get why it works for certain people. It never worked for me at all.
Do you want to say what about it?
I never liked the, I guess, monotony of it, and I didn't like sitting.
Yeah.
Like,
not good for you.
It really isn't.
We're sitting now, and I want to just stop the recording and go for a run.
So, to go from, like, especially when you're in a restaurant industry or you're in that type of field and you're always running. You're not literally running, but you're always moving. And then you sit for 8 hours a day. It really sucked. I never got used to it, and I was drained every single day. So every single day for 4.5 years, I left completely drained.
And I don't want to presume too much, but your dream, or your like whole reason of doing this was to save money to buy property. I'm guessing that didn't happen.
Well,
because that's not easy even then.
Right? No, I was very close because the general contractors that I worked with, they knew that was my goal.
Right.
Like I'm going to work 9 to 5. I'm going to work in the contracting and construction business. So I knew banks, I knew lenders, I knew the realtors, and something clicked in me, and it was like, don't do this, because once you get into that house, you're going to have this job for the rest of your life. You're never going to be away from this job. You're not going to get out of it. So I gave my 2-week notice, and that was it. I was done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went back
then I didn't do anything for about 2 years except drink and completely deplete my savings and get into credit card debt.
Okay. Oh, wow. You went from like plus to minus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, right. Exactly.
And this is like the early 2000s
this is going to be
now?
About, early 2000s. I did travel a little bit. I went to the UK. I had a friend getting married in Wales, so I did a little bit of London, I'm sorry, I'm going to take that back. He did not get married in Wales. He got married in northern England.
Okay.
But my trip was London into Wales and then back into England, up to the Lake District, up north, and then kind of back down.
Wow.
So.
Okay.
And so then I was pretty much broke and didn't have a lot of money, so I wasn't traveling. And
in debt?
And
broken in debt.
Yeah, broken into
debt. Two things I very much relate to now, by the way.
And so then I went back to serving, and I got a job not so far away at Cha-Cha-Cha.
Which one?
The one on Mission.
Oh, not far from here.
Yeah, not far from here.
Got it, yeah.
That way?
Yes.
Yeah, that way. And I actually interviewed one of my old coworkers for my podcast about our time at Cha-Cha-Cha.
Yes.
Bonnie, now she lives in the UK, but we worked together for about 3 years.
That's right. That's a good episode, by the way. We're going to segue to that later when we talk about Boozenation podcast, but there's some stories.
God.
That's a good one.
Oh my God. Yes, there are. So then, so now I'm back getting myself out of debt. And that's about the time I start working at the Dover, and I'm actually behind the bar.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know if you were there? This must be later, as I already said, but were you there in 2000 at the Dover?
Drinking, yes.
Oh, okay.
For sure, drinking.
Well, you might have been there when I went on my date that I've told you about, where my date brought all of her friends. So it's just me and all of her friends. It's super weird. And then I continued to see her. Anyway. Okay, was the Dover then the first SF bar that you worked at?
As the capacity of a bartender, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's maybe lightning round.
Okay.
What other bars?
Okay, we've got the Dover.
Existent or the ones that have closed?
Right, Dover, there's the Buck, there's Pie Bar, there's a Hotel Utah, Mini Bar, That could be it, but I feel like I'm missing a few.
Okay, that's okay. But that includes
Wait.
like both working and then filling in.
Oh, I filled in at Wild Side West, which up in Bernal.
Yes, love that place.
God, I've been behind. I had to have been behind another bar.
Did you say Pie Bar?
Pie Bar.
Pie Bar, which
On
just
Valencia,
recently
yeah.
closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sold. They got. They sold. And
So is it still open?
No.
Oh.
So they sold and shut down, and then the new owner is supposed to be reopening pretty soon.
I just loved it, like a slice of pizza for $3.14.
Yeah.
So great.
Exactly. It's a little bit sad, but I think they were done.
Yeah. Right. Location, tough location. Kind of in that like nether Valencia.
Yeah.
Can we talk about what you do now?
Yes.
I'll just say, like, as a quick setup, that you probably came into my and my wife's world probably through Instagram. We just saw this thing, Boozenation podcast, and my first thought when I see things like that, I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. I wonder where in the world it is. And then this happens every once in a while, and you're like, oh, it's right here in San Francisco.
It's pretty close. Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I see what they're putting out. This is super cool. Who the heck are they? And they're you. So.
Ah, thank you. I think that's how. Well, no, we saw each other, or we knew about each other via Instagram.
Yeah, that's probably
for
where I saw
sure.
it, yeah.
One of the funny stories.
Still good for something, Instagram.
Exactly right. When the shutdown was happening, like, March 2020, it's like March 17th,
Yeah, something like that.
15th, 17th. And we're, Gavin is like, everything has to shut right now. I don't care what you're doing. Gavin says it. We have to do it. So I remember. Yeah. I think I was supposed to go to work, but it was like, well, I'm not going to go to work because we can't go to work. Everything has to like slowly shut down. Like people were like calling last call at like 5 p.m. or, like early. And then I'm on my phone, as we all are, and I'm scrolling, and that's where I see Bitch Podcast. And they are in North Beach. Yes, Bitch Talk. And they're in North Beach drinking.
We were at the saloon.
Yes, the saloon. And I was like, oh my God, they are going down with the fire. I love it. They're going down with the ship.
Yeah.
They're going down. I love it. And then, like 9 o'clock, you're still there. And I'm like, oh yeah. Oh my God, they're not. They are still there drinking. I love it. And then like 11 o'clock, yeah, they're still there.
Yeah.
They haven't got kicked out yet. Oh my God. They are so going big because we all had to go home. We all had to go home. So go big, go home.
That was
we all had to go
Sunday.
Sunday
Before the Tuesday shutdown.
And it was like, yes, do it. Like
I was there for that.
Yes.
And
I was like, these people are cool. Like they don't give a shit. They are just cool.
First of all, I'm surprised that the saloon has a phone, but they had a phone and they got at least 2 calls that turned out to be not real or not true. I guess I should say they were real, but like 2 calls to be like, we got to shut down right now. And so we'd be like, one more drink? And then it'd be like, and then that shutdown would and then bands would come by, bands set up and played, and then they'd get another call. It was like, in hindsight, it makes so much sense because that, especially those few days were so weird.
Yes.
But yes, so that's how you found out about us.
Yes,
okay.
exactly. That's when I started paying attention.
Yeah. And you weren't doing Boozeland yet? Okay.
No.
Boozenation podcast. Sorry.
So that happened. I started that in 2021.
Okay.
And my first guest was my friend Kareen. And I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. I want it to be a conversation. Do you want to talk about, because she's a SOM. She's a level 2 SOM, African American. Do you want to talk about like pandemic, your last wine test, how you study, where you're at? And she was like, yeah.
Lovely.
So that's how I started that in 2021.
So born of the pandemic.
Yes, born of the pandemic.
And very specifically, like one of the industries I'm going to say, like, restaurants and bars, like, some of the hardest hit.
That's really what was a motivation or a starting point was, during this pandemic, the bar and restaurant industry just really got kicked to the curb. Like, no one gave a shit. Not necessarily in San Francisco. There were a lot of people really working hard and trying. More on a federal level, just no one gave a shit about livelihoods, safety, just anything. Just did not care. No help with your landlord, no landlord assistant, I was really kind of shocked that an entire industry would just get dumped.
Yeah.
I mean, other industries, the healthcare profession, the healthcare industry, they really,
right there
got kicked in their teeth. Again, more on a federal level. So that's really what I started to think about. Well, what about us? Like, what about us? Like, we are a workforce. So
100%.
What were you doing during the pandemic? Was kind of what I started as.
And how's it been? So now a little more than 2 years?
A little bit over 2 years.
How's it been for you to do it? Like, is it,
It's actually, so I started out asking people that I knew, and that went pretty well. My focus is on, BIPOC, LGBTQ. So in San Francisco, that is sometimes a challenge because bartending is still male and pale. Still a lot of that. So asking people that I knew, that was pretty easy. But then I was just like, well, who do I have now?
Right.
Where do I go now?
Right.
So then I just started reaching out via Instagram to people that I followed and people that I did not know. And surprisingly, they just answered back.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
It's really surprising. Yeah. Like Josh, he owns Ocean Beach Cafe. I've been trying to talk to him for ages. It's a non-alcoholic bottle shop. Okay. And again, I just reached out to him on Instagram, and he answered back. And we had about a 90-minute conversation, for not even knowing who I was.
Right.
I've gone in since, and we were friends now. So that's become a lot easier.
Has it changed once places opened up and you can go to places? Like, have you approached people in
I
person?
kind of feel that it's, even though things are opening up, it's still easier on a schedule to do it via Zoom.
Right.
Especially when I talked to Patrick from Anchor. He was sick, poor guy. Still talk to me. He was sick, and he lives in Oakland.
Okay.
But he just opened up his laptop, and we were chatting away. So
logistically,
yes,
easier.
Yes, it's much easier.
Yeah.
So in person, maybe. Once I figure things more out. But right now, it's probably just going to stay till a Zoom or a squadcast type of interview.
What's next for Boozenation podcast?
Boozenation, so I have a interview lined up for this week with Uncle Boys.
Oh, yes.
It's Filipino month.
Lovely.
Yes.
Lovely.
And then that means we've got November and December. Last year, I did a New Year's Eve, not a live, but I recorded and was able to, I know, with a DJ, my DJ friend, Fraser, because DJs are part of, they're part of our world, for
100%.
sure. Yeah. So this New Year's Eve, or for New Year's Eve, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Previous year, I had a couple of my friends just call in, or not call in, but send me 30 seconds of what they did on New Year's Eve, if they were, what they were doing, one of their best memories, one of their worst memories. And I put that together, and it was a really short one, but that was kind of fun too. A friend of mine, she was probably not so sober when she gave me her message. So she's like slurring and talking about Prosecco and meat for New Year's Eve plans. And I'm like, loving it. I'm loving it. It's great.
That works.
Yeah. After that, so after this year, I think what I'm going to do is go into seasons.
Okay.
Because, I have not really talked about, I don't know, some of the darker things of our industry. I've always talked about us and where we're from and what we're doing. But, there's still a huge issue with wage theft. There's rampant lawsuits all over the place. It's so disappointing. My friend who I was talking about, Bonnie, she works in the UK at a bar, and she's having an issue with the owner stealing her money. Yeah, it's unacceptable.
It's tiring. Yeah.
There's that issue. There's still the issue of the sexual harassment, the sexual assaults, the harassment that still goes on in this industry. So to do those, you have to do them correctly. I don't want anything rushed. I don't want to be insensitive, obviously. So I really need to take my time on those topics and how I'm going to do those particular episodes. So that's what I'm going towards now. That's
in the laboratories.
Yes.
At Boozenation.
Okay.
Let's. I love it. Love where that's going. Let's end on. Your podcast is about bars. It's about people for sure.
Yes.
But it's also about bars.
Yes.
What are some of your favorites?
Let's see.
I gave you. I want the listeners to know. I gave you the choice of where we were recording, and you chose Mission Bar.
Yes. So one of my favorite bars is going to be Mission Bar. I remember this when it was super, super scary.
Yes.
Scary as in knife fights happening inside. Like, I never went in. And then we heard about, some kids bought this bar and gutted it. And, it was Laura and her brother, sweeping the floor, and coming in here and, God, they were so young. We were all so young, first of all. Not just they were, we were too.
Yeah.
But just to see how hard Laura has worked, so I'm always loving this bar. So Mission Bar for sure. I'm going to say old school Specs.
Yeah.
Got to have Specs.
Yep.
I'm going to say away from kind of maybe the normal, the Riptide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Legit?
Yeah. Legit Riptide.
Speaking of fires.
I know. God.
But they're doing great.
No, they're reopening. They're
doing great.
They're doing well.
Good spot for karaoke too.
For sure. So let's see, that's 3.
Two more.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like in my neighborhood, I'm going to say the Little Shamrock. Oh, one of the oldest establishments in San Francisco. On Lincoln and 9th.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was going to say, Trader Sam's.
Okay. I saw you post about Trader Sam's.
Yeah. So, Trader Sam's, the Parkside.
The Parkside.
Yes.
The Parkside.
The Parkside.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think that's where I will end the list.
Okay.
What did we have? Did I give you 5?
It's like 5.5 or 6.
Okay. I'm going to think, I'm going to have 7 pop into my head the second we're done.
Trader Sam's is closing, right?
Trader Sam's closed.
It's already closed.
It's already closed. There's issues with the family that owns it. Siblings own one bar, siblings own the other bar. They can't seem to get along. So it's shut. It's getting worked, from what I heard, out, could reopen.
Oh.
But it's just always a problem when that happens.
Yeah.
You never want your doors shutting.
Family stuff.
Oh, well, if we can, Lucky 13. Super.
What do we even say about Lucky 13?
I know, super RIP right there. So that was the definite favorite of mine for sure.
For me, Lucky 13 got talked about closing for so long that I got used to it not closing, and then it closed, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Exactly. That was, I'm pretty sad about that. So
But let's go back to the Parkside real fast and end on the Parkside. I like to end on a high note. So, yeah. Do you know Malia?
We know who each other are.
Yeah.
Because we've both been in this industry for a while. Cool fucking lady.
She'd be perfect for your podcast.
She would, yeah. She's a rad lady, rad person. I don't know if she goes by lady.
Yeah.
Just a rad person. I'm so happy that she got Mother.
Mm-hmm.
That's fabulous for this neighborhood, for the queer community. Just, yeah, but the Parkside, I mean, I was there 4th of July where they did the tricycle races, the arm wrestling. Oh my God, so many bad tattoos. I don't care. It was awesome. I don't care who hears me say that. Tater tots, you know, it was just like, it's an awesome place.
That was Boozenation Podcast's Traci Ramos. We'll be back next week with a new episode all about Rudy Corpuz and his nonprofit, United Playas. That episode will drop Tuesday wherever you get podcasts. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Michelle Kilfeather does original photography for us. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 6th season, we have more than 200 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're able to, please rate and review the show, and drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Keep rejecting those silly doom loop narratives about our city. Stay wacky, weird, healthy, and creative. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco. We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.